You see, for over 120 plus years in Northern California, in Sonoma County, on a 2,700-acre secluded redwood grove, leaders from around the world, prime ministers, chancellors, presidents, governors, again, the heads of industry, banking, academia, the media, Hollywood, travel there to engage in bizarre, ancient Canaanite, Luciferian, Babylon mystery religion ceremonies. We were inside 4 hours. That's only one day out of the 2 weeks that they meet there for the admitted Summer Fire Festival of the Bohemian Club.
Serves as a vacation spot for the establishment every summer in the middle of July, where the world's most powerful men gather for a men's retreat inside the grove, which is kicked off with what's called the cremation of care ritual, a human sacrifice depicting ceremony where a life-size effigy of a person is burned on the altar at the base of a 40-foot tall demon-looking statue. Serious.
In the book, Bohemian Grove Cult of Conspiracy, written by Mike Hansen, a man who infiltrated the Bohemian Grove along with his friend Chris Jones, details a very disturbing story. He interviewed prostitutes who were brought into the Bohemian Grove to pleasure the members for a 3-night gig. The girls ended up quitting, however, on the second night because they felt degraded by some of the men at the Grove. The men refused to pay them since the contract said they had agreed to work 3 nights, so as punishment for not getting paid, one of the women stole a laptop from a member. She claimed that when she looked at the images on the laptop, she found pictures of women and what appeared to be children being horrifically violated. Obviously, strippers don't have the best reputations, and you could say she made this up to make the Grove look bad. However, considering the other things we will go over, that may not be the case. Paul Bonacci, one of the alleged victims in the Franklin cover-up scandal, I'll leave a link in the description box below if you're unfamiliar with it, claimed to have been taken to a place in the summer of 1984 that would later be identified as the Bohemian Grove to be forced to participate in some of the most horrifying acts imaginable. Paul's testimony is shown in the book titled The Franklin Cover-Up by former Senator John DeCamp. DeCamp actually asked Bonacci to take him to the place where what he was talking about happened, and Paul took him right to none other than the Bohemian Grove. I will now read the information Paul wrote in his journal regarding the place that would later be identified as the Bohemian Grove. In or on July 26th, I went to Sacramento, California. King, meaning Lawrence E. King, by the way, from the Franklin cover-up. As I said, you got to watch the documentary. I'll leave a link for below to understand the whole thing. Flew me out on a private plane from Eppley Airfield in Omaha to Denver, where we picked up Nicholas, a boy who was about 12 or 13. Then we flew to Las Vegas to a desert strip and drove into Las Vegas into some ranch and got something. Then flew on to Sacramento. We were picked up by a white limo and taken to a hotel. I don't remember the name of it. We, meaning Nicholas, and I were driven to an area that had big trees. It took about an hour to get there. There was a cage with a boy in it who was not wearing anything. Nicholas and I were given these Tarzan things to put around us and stuff. They told me to F the boy and stuff. At first I said no, and they held a gun to my balls and said do it or else lose them or something like that. I began doing it to the boy and stuff. And Nicholas had anal sex and stuff with him. We were told to F him and stuff and beat on him. I didn't try to hurt him. We were told to put our dicks in his mouth and stuff and sit on the boy's penis and stuff, and they filmed it. We did this stuff to the boy for about 30 minutes or an hour when a man came in and kicked us and stuff in the balls and picked us up and threw us. He grabbed the boy and started effing him and stuff. The man was about 10 inches long and the boy screamed and stuff, and the man was forcing his D into the boy all the way. The boy was bleeding from his rectum and the man tossed him and me and stuff and put the boy right next to me and grabbed a gun and blew the boy's head off. The boy's blood was all over me and I started yelling and crying. The men grabbed Nicholas and forced us to lie down. They put the boy on top of Nicholas, who was crying, and they were putting Nicholas' hands on the boy's ass. They put the boy on top of me and did the same thing. They then forced me to F the dead boy up his ass, and also Nicholas. They put a gun to our heads to make us do it. His blood was all over us. They made us kiss the boy's lips and eat him out. Then they made us do something I don't want to even write, so I won't. After that, the men grabbed Nicholas and drug him off screaming, and they put me up against a tree and put a gun to my head, but fired into the air. I heard another shot from somewhere. I then saw the man who killed the boy drag him like a toy. Everything, including when the men put the boy in a trunk, was filmed. They took me with them and we went up in a plane. I saw the bag the boy was in. We went over a very thick brush area with a clearing in it. Over the clearing, they dropped the boy. One said the men with the hoods would take care of the body for them. I didn't see Nicholas until that night at the hotel. He and I hugged and held each other for a long time. About 2 hours later, the men, or Larry King, came in and told us to go take a shower since we had only been hosed off at some guy's house. We took a shower together and then were told to put on the Tarzan things. After we were cleaned up and dressed in these things, we were told to put on shorts, socks, and a shirt and shoes, and driven to a house where the men were at with some others. They had the film and they played it. As the men watched, they passed Nicholas and I around as if we were toys and sexually abused us. They made Nicholas and I screw each other, and one of the men put the dead boy's penis and mine in Nicholas' mouth. I didn't want to write this because the man forced me to bite the boy's penis and balls off. It was gross, and I saw the film where it happened and started freaking out and remembering what they made us do afterwards to the boy. They showed us doing everything to the boy. I was there for about 5 days attending parties, but only recall cutting my wrist, which is why I stayed 2 days in a hospital under a name I can't recall. Some guy paid for me. In another testimony, Bonacci said that Larry King was smiling and laughing the whole time the film was being shown, and that the, quote, men with the hoods were a satanic group which planned to use the boy in some sort of ceremony. He also named the director of the Snuff film, whom they had picked up in Las Vegas, as Hunter Thompson. This paragraph here was written by John DeCamp in the Franklin cover-up book. Now let's go over who this Hunter Thompson guy actually is. Hunter Thompson, the alleged director of the Snuff film Paul Bonacci mentioned, is believed to be referring to American journalist and author Hunter S. Thompson. In his book Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Thompson mentioned being given adrenochrome, and in his book Hey Rub, he wrote about pedophile rings keeping child sex slaves. Photographer Rusty Nelson also came out and stated Thompson offered him $100,000 to film a snuff film where a young boy would be murdered as a psycho. To make things even more bizarre, after Thompson's suicide, Nicole Brown, his former editorial assistant, claimed he kicked her out of his home one time for refusing to watch a snuff film with him, though she did say later in an interview with Mark Dice that she thought he was possibly joking. She stated Thompson was likely just investigating the claims and was just pretending to be interested in snuff films for his investigation. I want to thank Mark Dice and his book titled The Bohemian Grove Facts and Fiction, which I used for most of my research regarding that portion, or this portion of the video. Former FBI Chief Ted Gunderson also backed Bonacci and believed he was telling the truth. Gunderson stated snuff films were made at the Grove and were sold for up to $50,000 each. Bonacci is not the only person to come out and say they witnessed sinister activity within the Bohemian Grove, however. Others also came out and made similar allegations about the Grove. I will now briefly go over some other alleged victims' claims. Fiona Barnett from Australia, an alleged victim of MKUltra mind control and a Luciferian VIP Australian pedophile ring, made similar claims as Bonacci. She detailed her alleged experience at the Grove in her book, Eyes Wide Open. I will now read an excerpt from that book. Quote, "The CIA flew me to the USA when I was 6 years old. I was flown into California in the back of a CIA cargo plane. They gassed and stuffed me like an animal in a wooden crate filled with straw. I remember the pilots had American accents and asked me, 'Are you okay, sweetheart?' My first memory of Bohemian Grove is the ritual sacrifice of a woman by men in black robes. Their robes were taller with pointier caps compared to the Australian ones. My next memory is of being hunted for fun in the woods. A group of children and I were dressed in teddy bear costumes. We were instructed to hide amongst the redwood forest so that the guests could seek us. The hunt occurred at night while the song Teddy Bear's Picnic played over loudspeakers hung throughout the forest. Those who got caught were raped through openings in their costumes. They screamed for their mothers as they were decapitated. My furry suit, complete with ears, made me look like an Ewok in the Star Wars series. Hence, I found the film scene so triggering. The Simpsons voice actor Harry Shearer, who started out as a child actor, attended Bohemian Grove and made a 2002 movie about this called Teddy Bear's Picnic. During an interview, Shearer dismissed the Grove's cremation of care ritual as a bit of harmless fun and, quote, "She then goes on to talk about how she was dressed as a candy girl and taken to a pink bubble-themed cabin to be drugged and raped. She stated after publishing her experience regarding the pink cabin, she was contacted by a man who worked at the Grove for 46 years who told her the pink bubble cabin is the Pink Onion Camp and that its headquarters are located at 792 Marshall Street in Redwood City, California. David Schroeder from the United States alleged that he and his siblings were flown to the Grove off-season when there weren't as many people there by his satanic high priest's father. Schroeder alleged that he was forced to participate in hide-and-seek human hunting games in the forest of the Grove. Schroeder stated he was sexually abused at the Grove, and one of the alleged perpetrators he named was Michael Aquino, a former military intelligence officer who specialized in psychological warfare and who founded the Temple of Set, a Luciferian occult order. Schroeder also alleged he witnessed child sacrifices to Moloch at the Grove, with everyone afterwards drinking the victim's blood. Schroeder alleged after these child sacrifice rituals, the perpetrators would then gang rape him. Schroeder also alleged he witnessed Aquino himself kill dozens of children at not just the Grove, but in Omaha, Nebraska as well. Peter Alexander Chernoff alleged that he helped a Luciferian cult kidnap 10-year-old Kevin Collins in San Francisco. He went on to claim that he witnessed Collins be sacrificed at the Bohemian Grove in the presence of others by Michael Aquino. In 1990, Aquino was actually involuntarily discharged due to investigations into alleged sexual abuse of children at the San Francisco Presidio daycare. Aquino has denied being involved in any child abuse scandals and claimed the allegations were the result of the satanic panic. Remember, all the allegations in this video are just that, allegations, and I'm just repeating what other people have said. And if you want to see what Aquino has to say, make sure to read his book, Extreme Prejudice, the Presidio Satanic Abuse Scam. I will link the book in the description, as well as Fianna's book and David Schroeder's book that he wrote about his experiences with elite pedophile rings. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. This just briefly goes over the Bohemian Grove rabbit hole, and there's a lot more to look at and more alleged victims who've made claims. And if you guys like this video, I may make a part 2. I'm going to start diving heavily now into the Delphi murders case. I ordered a book on it, so yeah, subscribe, stay tuned for that if you haven't, and thank you all for your support. God bless.